and welcome. I'm Melinda Kilami. Tonight, gunmen kill 9 people in fresh attacks on a community in Zanga local government area of Kaduna State as President Buhari condemns persistent attacks in the state. Borno State government sets up newly internally displaced persons camp as the teachers' village camp is overstretched. Independent National Electoral Commission INEC to resume collation of results of Tapabalewa local government area of Bauchi State on Tuesday and release timelines for the completion of the process in Rivers State on Wednesday. And deadly tropical storm kills at least 24 people in eastern Zimbabwe.
On Business News tonight, newly passed housing law generates negative reactions from financial market investors.
And on Sports News tonight, Nigeria's D Tigers draw European, South American and Asian oppositions in Group B for the 2019 FIBA Basketball World Cup.
Kaduna State has been under the spotlight in recent times owing to recent cases of killings by gunmen. This new development is becoming worrisome and giving security operatives sleepless nights as they have not been able to apprehend anyone, although the attacks have remained unabated. The latest onslaught started in February, precisely a week to the presidential and National Assembly elections, when the state government announced that no fewer than 66 people had been killed by armed bandits in Marungida and Iri axis of Kajuru local government area. That attack was a cause of controversy as conflicting figures emerged on the number of casualties. But before the February attack, the monarch of Adara Kingdom was killed after he was abducted by unknown persons in October 2018. As it stands now, security operatives have more to contend with by tracking down the killers, especially now that the trend has become even more alarming. Now, the latest onslaught by the gunmen happened today as they again killed 9 people in Nandubok community in Zanga local government area of Kaduna State. This has since created tension in the area, and some indigents told our correspondent that the gunmen launched the attack at about 4 a.m. today. No fewer than 30 houses were also burnt in the process. Although the State Police Command is yet to confirm the incident, the Kaduna State government has confirmed the attack in a statement by the governor's spokesperson, Mr. Samuel Aruwan. The statement says that Governor Nasir El-Rufai has commiserated with the survivors and families of the victims after he was briefed by security agencies. It also adds that security operatives have been deployed to the area and the State Emergency Management Agency has been directed to immediately provide relief materials to the affected community. And President Muhammadu Buhari is not finding the persistent violence in Kaduna State funny at all. The president is indeed warning those responsible for the attacks to be mindful that such acts can only leave tears and destruction in his trail. In a statement by one of his aides, the president says, and I quote, "I'm deeply troubled by the fact that the sanctity of life is now treated with such reckless regard that people derive joy in shedding the blood of others or perceived enemies," end of quote. According to him, while the government remains committed to protecting its citizens, the communities must also be involved in order to find a lasting solution. The president also appealed to the warring communities to stop inhibiting the National Emergency Management Agency's efforts to deliver food, medicine and temporary shelter to the victims of the violence who are in dire need of assistance. From Kaduna, let's head to Borno State now, where the government has commenced the decongestion of the Teachers Village IDP camp, which is currently overstretched by 300%. The congestion in the Teachers Village camp is as a result of unstable and unpredictable security situation in northern Borno, resulting in mass displacement. The camp population has grown from 8,605 in October 2018 to 31,000 in February.
Originally planned out in 2014 to be an accommodation for teachers in Borno State, A necessary deviation altered that intention in 2015, becoming a home to internally displaced persons. It is estimated that the camp is sheltering 31,000 people, each with a history of how they got here. One of such persons is Aisha Ali, a 23-year-old mother of 3, who fled here from her village in Mongono local government area.
I am not originally from this camp. I went to Jidari. There was a temporary shed where displaced people were staying, so I stayed with a woman I met there. But when they came and killed people, we all ran away and I left our things. When I came back, I didn't see her, so I picked my things and came here. On some days, I begged for alms to feed my children.
Overcrowding is a major problem in this camp, which the authorities fear might lead to an outbreak of diseases and fire. However, this official from the State Emergency Management Agencies says it's been looked into.
Over 30,000 people here. So we feel deemed that this camp should not, all the facilities are overstretched. In terms of health, it's not wise, so we now decided to reduce the number from 31,000 to at least 10,000 to 15,000. So government decided to give another land. There's a stadium under construction. Very soon we'll move our 10,000 to the new stadium.
This woman is an occupant of the new shelter, and she expresses her relief of being there.
You cannot compare how we live here and the other place. Honestly, in the past, we really faced difficult times. Cold, mosquitoes, and we were just outside. Our husbands slept in the open, but here we have our dignity and privacy, and there's enough space for everyone.
The new alternative shelter is expected to accommodate at least 12,000 people when complete, and the first set of occupants are happy with their new home.
Staying with security-related stories, members of the Alumni Association of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies says it's time for government at all levels to look inwards for solutions to national economic and security challenges. On the sidelines of the association's conference in the nation's capital, Abuja, the acting Inspector General of Police, who is an alumni of the institute, insists that the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies has conducted research across all the sectors of the economy and is capable of helping the current security challenges in the country.
There is no aspect of life in this country that has not been studied in the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies. What is needed is that any policy that government will come up with, just refer to the National Institute. The National Institute will check the research that was done before and then easily give to government for implementation. This will address some of the current challenges in the country, vis-a-vis what has been happening before, and at the end of the day, the input of INEC will help in having an enhanced national security strategy that will be easily implemented within the country.
From security, let's talk politics now. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, is accusing the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, of failing to obey the ruling of the Court of Appeal, which asked the Commission to allow its presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, access to inspect the documents and materials used in the February 23rd presidential election. The party is also alleging that INEC is acting on the orders of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, by deliberately frustrating the PDP's resolve to file its petition at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. The PDP claims its legal team wrote to the INEC chairman on March the 11th and the 12th, respectively, on the subject matter, but the Commission refused to grant them access to the materials. The statement further claims that the action of the electoral umpire clearly confirms the PDP's allegation that INEC has been compromised. The PDP and Mr. Abubakar have been insisting on getting access to those documents. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has been speaking on the suspended electoral process in Rivers State, affirming that there was indeed widespread disruption of the collation of results held on March the 9th. A statement by the INEC National Commissioner and Chairman Information and Voter Education, Mr. Festus Okoye, insists that the governorship and state assembly elections took place in most of the polling units and results were announced. INEC further states that the declaration and returns for 21 state constituencies out of the 32 were made before the suspension and that the collation centers were invaded by some soldiers and armed gangs, resulting in the intimidation and unlawful arrest of election officials, and that led to the disruption of the collation process. While the Commission expresses displeasure with the role played by some soldiers and armed thugs in Rivers State, it adds that it will on Wednesday release detailed timelines and activities for the completion of the exercise. On the Bauchi elections, INEC says it's approved the resumption and conclusion of collation of results of the Tapabalewa local government area regarding the governorship election, as the duplicate and original registration area results are available. The Commission also says a new collation and returning officer for the local government area will be appointed to continue and conclude the collation process, as the original officer withdrew, citing threat to her life and those of her family members. It adds that the collation process for the LGA will resume on Tuesday, that's March the 19th, and directs that the error in the total number of cancelled votes in 4 polling units in Lingi local government area should be corrected from 25,330 to 2,533 votes. Following the recurrent cases of inconclusive elections in the country, especially the 2019 elections, there have been questions on what exactly could be responsible. There have also been questions concerning the powers of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to declare elections inconclusive. In this special report, our correspondent Terry Kumi takes a look at these controversies.
Definitely not the first time that the term inconclusive election has come up in the country. But it is clear that it has now been made popular by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Following the fallout of the 2019 general elections, which has led to delay in announcing results in some areas and rescheduled governorship elections initially in 6 states, Adamawa, Sokoto, Benue, Kano, Plateau and Bauchi states. The questionable number of inconclusive elections across the country has even earned the electoral umpire a new nickname, according to this lawmaker.
Cognizance that the frequency of cases of inconclusive election in Nigeria has made the electorate to refer to the Independent National Electoral Commission as the Inconclusive National Electoral Commission.
Some lawmakers in the House of Representatives have also questioned the powers of the electoral body to declare elections inconclusive based on margin of win and the number of cancelled votes.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has no powers howsoever to declare a result inconclusive or cancelled where it was cleared from the polling units.
We have the sword with us here to change this country from manual voting. Use technology which will be cheaper, less cost effective, and our lives will be safe. And we sit down here to be discussing inconclusive elections. Mr. Speaker, I repeat, the problem of this country is in the National Assembly.
Within a matter of weeks or 1 week, let us set up a crack team to amend the electoral law to limit the powers of INEC.
Another worry is why a supplementary election should be conducted over votes that have been cancelled.
In every pre-election stage.
Dr. Adeni Abiodun is a political analyst and he gives a probable explanation.
How are we defining the concept of cancellation? If you are cancelling something, are you going to be revisiting it? Do you want to validate it again after you have said that these ones are invalid? Perhaps we should use another word instead of vote cancel being more than the margin of victory between the winner and the runner-up.
The guidelines of the electoral umpire prevents the commission from announcing a winner in an election where the margin of lead between 2 leading candidates is less than the number of registered voters in a cancelled polling area. Perhaps the argument is because there is no mention of margin of win in the Constitution.
If institutions, public institutions, are trying to break down the Constitution to suit their own operation, and it comes in conflict with the Constitution, then the law says that the Constitution will take precedence. But excuse me, it is the courts that will help us declare this, not the political actors in the circumstance.
The electoral umpire insists that it would rather declare elections inconclusive when necessary than announce winners under the wrong circumstances, which will eventually lead to numerous post-election court cases. However, an amendment to the Electoral Act would probably be required to look at some of the issues raised from the 2019 elections, one of which is what some refer to as deliberate perpetration of violence or overvoting by a political party in the stronghold of another to trigger a cancellation of the vote in that voting area. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
In part 2, after the break, we'll be looking at the clamor for electoral reforms, and we'll be joined by the senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Paul Ananaba. Stay with us.